started, I wanted to welcome you guys all here to the New Form Technology 2nd anniversary party. And it truly is a party this year. We have a lot to celebrate and a lot to be grateful for. Let's just get rolling. So, as all of you know, last fall, Frank had a little medical condition that came up with him, so we started a GoFundMe campaign. And with all your help, we've raised nearly $15,000. And really, this was the impulse that allowed Frank to make it to Hope for Cancer Clinic in Baja, California, which is one of the leading non-toxic alternative cancer treatment centers in the world. And so Frank stayed there 3 weeks and has been kicking butt ever since. As you'll see, when you see him on camera, he's looking great. He continues his treatment protocol every day, 4 to 5 hours a day, and he's applied his own little alchemical spin to the treatment protocol, which is fascinating. And we appreciate your continued support. This is a year-long treatment program for Frank, so it has monthly expenses that he has to endure. So if you can share it with a friend, get it out there. We still need your continued support. But thank you, thank you, thank you. You guys are all a lifesaver out there. Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay, so this is a snapshot of the agenda. I'm doing the introduction, and then Frank will be giving a lecture titled "The Evolution of Humanity is Unity," and that'll be amazing. And then I'll give an update on the Research Center, what our mission is, an overview and update. And then we have different product categories, and different people on the team will stand up and share what they're working on and what they want to share during the talk. And then we'll have closing remarks, and then we'll have a celebration with snacks and cake, and you'll have extra time to explore and chat with Frank and the team members and check out the Research Center. So, who is Frank Chester? Everyone here in this room probably knows who Frank Chester is, but he is a master teacher. He was a lifelong teacher before he retired at 60, a geometrician and a sculptor. You'll see his art later today. And he discovered the chestahedron with its 7-sided form. And you'll see plenty of pictures of that also today. The chestahedron resides in the heart, in your chest, and it's at the exact balance between up and down, forward and back, and left and right. And that exact balance is actually the square root of 3 that resides inside a cube, going from one side to the other. And that angle is 36 degrees. So this is the revolutionary discovery that Frank made. One of the things that I'll warn you as you're going through this talk, and as Frank presents his lecture, I'm just going to have to warn you that if you have a problem with life and falling in love with life, then you probably want to hit pause on the button, because watching Frank's lectures and getting experience to his work is going to make you fall in love with life. And it has me. It's amazing. I was on YouTube about 3 years ago watching my first lecture, and then about a year and a half later I was here sitting in these seats, and now I'm here standing up before you helping make NFT happen. So that could easily be you next year, the year after. So we want you to come. The door is always open. So what I want you to talk, leading kind of into that, so through the last 2 years, it's been amazing. One of my favorite stories was Pinocchio. And in Pinocchio, right, Geppetto, the master craftsman, he actually makes Pinocchio out of wood. And then through the course of the story, Pinocchio comes to life. And so it's kind of funny, because I kind of was thinking about the other day, oh, Pinocchio and Frank's Geppetto. But what's amazing about this story is that it's actually the reverse. Because I was alive, and then through life, through human conditioning, you kind of get harder, you get wooden. And so he actually brought me back to life. Frank's work and Frank's art and the geometry and everything here at the Research Center brought me back to life. And so, like I like to say, and I was going to play the video, but this is that great song, I got no strings on me. So that's how I feel right now. I've got no strings on me. So, Frank and Frank's discoveries. One of the first impulses that I got at the Research Center was, wow, this needs international recognition. This really needs to be recognized. And so I started looking, I'm like, this is Nobel Prize worthy. I'm like, oh yeah, yeah, yeah. But they don't have mathematics Nobel Prize. I was like, okay, so I kept looking. Oh, Abel Award, this Abel Award in Norway. It's given for mathematics. So then I went and I looked online and, oh wow, they've given it for geometry many times. And so I actually looked at the guy, the last guy that won it was in 2009 for his Michaela Gromov of NYU. And while I was doing the research, the most amazing thing happened. I was reading the press release and of Mikhailov's, his laureate announcements. He's like, my next project is that I'm going to go and discover the geometry of the heart. And I'm like, what? Wait a second, this was 2009. Wow. 2009, Frank had discovered it in 2000. And so that's when I really was like, these master brilliant geometricians out there and mathematicians, they just need to know about Frank. And so it kind of ties into, this is a sea of consciousness. And what we have to do in life is develop our awareness within that sea of consciousness. And so really, Frank's lack of recognition internationally is just lack of awareness. They haven't seen it yet. And so basically what I did was, I mean, if you read this, if you read what it says, it recognizes outstanding scientific work in the field of mathematics, which includes geometry, and the application of mathematics in the sciences. So that's when a field of study, mathematics, crosses over and it helps something in medicine. So the chestahedron, Frank discovered it was the geometry of the heart. Brilliant. The first discovery, brilliant. The second one is just top shelf. It's just amazing. And so extraordinary depth. So Frank had to go become an expert in medicine in order to determine that he had the geometry of the heart. These are all fundamental problems. Created powerful new techniques. Oh my God. Introduced unifying principle to open up major new fields of research. That's what we are here, and new form technology. This is new research. And so, basically, it's open to the public, unlike the Nobel Prize, where you have to actually get invited to nominate. The Abel's open to the public. And so I nominated Frank for the award, and I drew up a letter, and I've got it right here, and I can give you copies of it. We're going to put it on the website, because if you look here, it says right here, Abel Prize Laureate to develop geometric model of heart, 2009. Watch this. At the moment, Michaela Gromov is applying his knowledge in geometry to biology. He's trying to develop the geometric model of the heart. Experts believe that such a model can appear to be the breakthrough in the field of cardiology. Yep, it is. It is a breakthrough, and Frank has not only discovered the geometry of the heart, but he's got the whole spectrum of heart disease from beginning to end. And one of the things that Frank's working on is a heart book, which will document all of these discoveries. So here's the letter, and then I actually formulated from the book, and I watched all of Frank's lectures, I formulated all of his discoveries. So there's a laundry list here. Each one is a whole field of study that you can look into and bite your teeth into. So what I say is that this letter is here, anyone can nominate. Unfortunately, this year, we got beat. So it was just announced last week that John Nash won. So we got beat by A Beautiful Mind. The guy from A Beautiful Mind won the Abel Award this year. So if you're going to lose, that's the right guy to lose to. So I encourage you, this is like a petition. I want to get hundreds of people to nominate him, thousands of people to nominate him. I want, we want their, they want, Frank Chester, who's that? Frank Chester, who's that? So that's my plan. And so this is a little bit, this is my intro to Frank. So here is another insight that came to me. So what age actually is it? What age are we in? So what's so new about the New Age? When you hear about the New Age, it's Egypt, it's Atlantis, it's Lemuria, it's the Mayas, it's Hopis, it's ancient aliens, it's higher dimensions, and on and on. And so it's kind of funny. I mean, all those things are great, and I love tradition, but the New Age is for us to create. We're here to create this age, and that's our job. And so it's kind of funny. I almost think like the New Age is the nostalgic age, because it's looking at the past, and it's great. I love the past. The past is great. We build off of that, but we have to build. We have to move forward. So NFT brings the new to New Age. So with that, I will turn it over to the father of the New Age, Frank Chester.
nothing left for me to say. I mean, covered everything. Well, first off, I'd like to bring in the third year NFT. We've now successfully accomplished 2 years. So I would like to bring in the third year. So I ring the first bell, which is the Saturn bell, and I'll ring it 3 times. Okay, I'm going to sit down. I don't know how long I can sit. But I thought the first thing I should do is to give my thanks. And I'd like to give my thanks first off to Jean Pollard and Stephen Dias and Cynthia Ware, because if they weren't here this time, none of this would be here. They did it all. I haven't been here for 6 months. It was the first time I've been here for 6 months. I didn't see any of this. I didn't have anything to do with directly. It's all been done by those 3 individuals in the last couple of weeks. They've done this. So I want to thank them very, very much. Thank you.
Okay.
Then I also want to thank all the people who put me in their thoughts and their prayers and also sent me contributions. A lot of people. And I haven't responded to any of them. And I have to apologize for that, but I couldn't help it. But now I can thank them all. I thank all of them that helped me. Because the treatment that I did is expensive. And fortunately, it's working. So I'm very thankful for that. Because I didn't know if I'd have a tongue to speak again. Because I have cancer of the tongue. And so what I did is I noticed that I had a lump on the side of my... I need to explain all of this because then you'll know what I went through and why I never responded to anybody and what was going on. What's been going on in the last 6 months. So I went to a regular doctor and he said we need a biopsy. I got a biopsy and they said that it's throat cancer. Put the camera up my nose. He showed it to me and so forth, and of course the first thing that he wanted to do was to operate, and so that means that they would have to lock my jaw open and then a mechanical arm would go in and a television camera and this computer would cut the tumor out. And I said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, okay, well now you need to have chemo and you need to have radiation. And I said, well, what's going to happen there? He said, well, you may not be able to talk again. And you certainly won't be able to swallow. You have to let the food accumulate in the back of the throat, let it go down naturally somehow. And of course, on and on and on with these stories that I heard, but other people did this. So I refused to do that because I thought that I should put the quality of life first. So that whatever I had left, I could live it in a more natural way. So I went to a Chinese herbalist, a very famous one in Mill Valley, and he told me that I could do a number of things. He says, there's a place in Japan where they're doing boron radiation, which does not kill healthy cells, only cancer cells. And also there's a place in the Mayo Clinic, and I looked into that, and what they do is they fight the cancer with measles. Apparently your whole body turns blue. And so I said, okay, I'm not interested in that. So there was an Anderson clinic which was really good. All of these clinics were free because what they do is you're like you do whatever they say without questions for the length of time that you stay there, and then the food is free. So I wasn't willing to do that. But when I decided to go to Japan, I went to Japan And the doctor there was very nice, and apparently the reactor is still not up, so they couldn't get the boron therapy for me. And they gave me some of this real special medicine that comes from the first milk from the pregnant cow, and the first calf. And so that was very expensive. And I spent a week there getting those shots and going through their rigmarole. And I realized that I needed to leave and go somewhere else. So then Stephen advised Hope for Cancer. Hope for Cancer was in Tijuana. So when I got the biopsy, they gave me pain medicine. I took the pain medicine. For 5 days I couldn't have any bowel movements. So I finally called the doctor up a number of times in that 5 years. And I said, listen, I got to have something for the constipation. Oh, you don't need it. I'll give you this, but you know, you can get that at the store. So after 5 days, I said, this is it. I'm going to the emergency room. So I went to the emergency room, and they said I was around between 2 and 5 hours from a coma, because the bladder had filled up and started to go into the kidneys. So I had kidney failure. Okay, if I were in a coma, that would have been it. So I had to have a catheter, whatever, and then in the meantime I also had an operation on the prostate gland, and then I had an operation with a hernia. So when I went to Hope for Cancer, it was very expensive. It was $42,000. And I had to have a shot every week that was $1,000. And the shot comes from Russia. And comes from a 9-year-old boy's stomach. So all of it's natural. And in the meantime, I had to spend 3 weeks down there, 10 hours a day, going through all their treatments. And I was exhausted, absolutely exhausted. But at the end of the 3 weeks, the first tumor was down 30%, and the blood was down 60% that was going to the tumor, which makes it grow. So that's been 3 months since that time. And in that 3 months, I was able to take off the bandage off the tumor, and the tumor stuck to the bandage, and I threw it away. I don't have a tumor there now. But I still have one more. But it's going through the same process that the first one went through. So I'm supposed to go down to Hope for Cancer 3 times, every 3 months, and go through this procedure. And so my expenses are not over, but I'm making it. Okay, and so what can I make of all this is that, was this karma, or was this some kind of physiology, or was this esoteric physiology, or was this past life, is this part of the future, is it because of a certain force, a certain being, and all the kind of stuff that people ask me this stuff. Well, I was told by the doctor not to answer any of these questions and don't even talk about my therapy, and I didn't. That's another reason I never responded to anybody. So, I didn't have any of those experiences. Esoteric physiology, or karma, or nothing came to me. I had no intellectual interpretation of what could have caused this. Okay? Something that came out of a book, or somebody's philosophy, or somebody's theory. Sorry, that didn't work for me. So the only thing I can tell you that happened to me during this time, this 6 months, is that I would wake up with this great warmth. And my enthusiasm has put me through this to live. And I'm in love with the world like I never was before. So love has been my experience of cancer, nothing else. So Oh, I hope that cheers some people if they ever have something like this. Because that's what may come of it. I got a long ways to go. I did my best to be active during this time. The first 3 months I couldn't. I was too weak. But I'm not weak anymore. I have no pain. Okay, I have a healthy appetite. I weigh what I weighed in high school. Okay. I've never felt healthier. Okay, and I have a barometer on the side of my neck that tells me if I'm not eating right. Because cancer loves certain foods, especially sugar. So what they do is it gives you sugar, and the cancer rears up this life of its own, and then you put frankincense on it, and you put other kinds of natural ingredients that attacks the muscle that's holding this cancer that's alive. So sugar has its place. Because if you don't have any sugar, then the cancer eats the fat. If you don't have any fat, then it eats the muscle. So they have to have some sugar. But you use dates. I have dates. You know, I have oranges and these kind of things, which are really good for you. Okay, so today I'd like to tell you that what I'm going to show you is going to change geometry and the history of it forever. Now, that's a pretty big claim, but you'll see why I claim it. But this is going to change geometry. It's never going to be the same. The most famous, the most sacred, and the most important pattern in the world is the flower of life. It is the most important. And the flower of life, if you look on the internet, it's everywhere. Everybody's coloring in different colors. Still the same. It's been around for 5,000 years that we know for sure. It hasn't changed in 5,000 years. And there they are. It shows you how many people are doing this all like mad. Now that last one you saw, the little one, what's so neat about that? That's around 4,000 years old. It's been burnt, somehow lasered, cut, or whatever, into the side of the rock in the pyramid 4,000 years ago. And nobody can figure out how it was done. And then here I just one little sample off the internet. It's just thick. So anyway, I'm gonna set this up. It's not gonna take a long time to do this, because what you're gonna see is a shift. You're gonna see a shift in consciousness that centers around this form, because every single major religion uses this form. Asia, Japan, China, Europe, Jewish religions, all the major ones. This is the major deal here. And so they've all interpreted this to fit their particular religion, which is nothing wrong with that. What's wrong with that? So it has certain characteristics, which I'll show you now. That's unusual about it. So I made this one here. This is falling apart. Put these back. But anyway, it's a very beautiful form. It's made of 19 circles. All the circles touch, and it's 7 surrounded by 12. Very interesting. Even Rudolf Steiner in his first class books that he put out for first class members, it's all based on 19. It's all based on this. So, I mean, many philosophies and many religions are based on this. This has been here for 5,000 years. You're going to see 5,000 years. You're going to see a shift today that's never been seen before. And part of that shift has my experience of cancer. Anyway, so if I could just show you a couple things about it. The 6 around 1, the 7, is amazing because they all touch. And then the 12 around the 6, which are really 7 in the middle, all touch. all the same size circle, and I have triangles. So this is based on triangles and circles. So this is called the flower of life. So it also has what they call the fruit of life. So the fruit of life is you take these off here, every other one. Did I do that right? That's called the fruit of life. Now, don't ask me why, okay? But that's what they attribute this to. And if you take the other 6 off, okay, it's called the seed of life. So the 7 is the seed, and this is the fruit, and this is the flower. Okay, so notice how it's all centered around a plant? Because inside this middle here is what they call the tree of life. And the tree of life is definitely used with the number of religions. One of them is the Jewish people really use the tree of life. And the tree of life is kind of like this. It isn't centered around circles, but it's centered around these distances between. We have a tree of life here.
Right there, second row in the
I
bottom.
don't see it. Where to go?
To the left. Yeah, right there. Third one.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Of course, it's the tree of life. That's where it fits. Now, one of the things you see over here is this little guy. And that little guy is called a stellated octahedron. And the stellated octahedron looks like this. And the stellated octahedron are 2 tetrahedrons, this one and this one pointing up, one pointing down, that make this 6, which is all based on 6. This is based on 6. So where the whole thing comes from. And there are other religions that also use this, and some of them call this the Merkaba. And this happens to be very popular in the New Age. But it is really a stellated octahedron. That means inside here, there's an octahedron that's been stellated into these little points. Now, what's amazing about this little guy, he's very nice, is that I can show you how it comes into being. So I made this model to show you. Because this is important. The past is very, very important. This is what it looks like in the transformation. So these are new models I made. So here you have a tetrahedron pointing up, and you have a tetrahedron pointing down. And when you push these together, it makes this little guy here. Pretty cool, huh? So it's all back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay, it's all back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. Okay? So I'm going to put this over here. So it's next to this. I don't mean to get in the way, but I'll slide over here. Almost too far. All right, here we go. I got it. Now see, I've made these, so I can move these around. Look, see? Isn't that cool? I can also take them out. I mean, I can just take them right out of here, look. So you know that that's really it. What's a tetrahedron in there? Fire. First form that comes into the world. All right, so I'll put it back. These are just pill boxes I cut off. And then I can adjust them any way I want. Yeah, that's great. Okay. So, geez, I hope I'm not leaving anything out. I'm not. All right, I'll put this little guy over here. I'll put this one here. So, here comes my discovery. My discovery is Okay, so who got this woman? All right, let me take a look at this. All right. Now I'm going to do a shift. First people on earth to see this. The first. Only person that has seen it before you is my wife. No one else has seen it. Not a real big deal, but it's a major discovery that changes geometry forever. So I made this in such a way that I can make that shift. There it is. Now that shift, okay, has made the whole outer ring a circle. This is a hexagram. This is based on Earth. This is a square, a cube. This isn't. This is the same amount of circles. They all touch, and they're all in a ring. This has never been seen before because it's exactly the same as that, except it's done a shift. So, the only reason I found this is because Stephen asked me a question. He says, listen, he says, he hadn't seen this yet. But he asked me, well, the unity, the jewelry unity, anybody got a little unity I can show everybody? Is there, oh, you
I
want
can
to
get
come up
one.
here
Daniel's got it.
and show that?
Do you have the unity item?
Daniel does.
Oh.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thanks a lot, Daniel. This is the unity. Okay, and the reason this started is because people wanted to know why this was so powerful. Stephen goes to shows and had people ask him, and he said, well, that's the part of the Merkaba.
Harkaba.
Harkaba.
The Harkaba.
Isn't that great?
Not the Merkaba, this is the Harkaba.
Isn't that great? That's what he told the person. Well, I thought, wow, I couldn't have, now I start to see it. And you can start to see it. This is very powerful. Some people who wear this, okay, they can't take it off. And if they do, they feel it's missing. Okay, and I know why it's so strong, and you will know today why this is so strong. All right, so I'll leave this right here, Daniel. So what Stephen said when he said, look, he says, if this is the unity, then there should be a relationship between this and a unity. Because, you know, these are the same, except I'll show you why this changed. So there should be a relationship between this and this one. That's what Stephen wanted to know. So, well, I went to work on that, and I got it. But then it took a long time to figure this out. So here it is, here. This is how this form came in. I think if I slide this over, I'm not able to do this. Yeah? Good. Perfect. Look at that. Thanks a lot. So we have the same thing going on here. You have a tetrahedron at the top, like here. I'll put this right there. Oh, a tetrahedron at the top and a tetrahedron at the bottom. A blue one, a red one. A blue one, a red one. So what is the difference between what has been done for 5,000 years and what's been done now? That's what is it?
Because on that one, the side's pointing out, but on that one, it's not.
Well, that's part of it. The main part is that instead of going like this, I went like this. So this one is turning this way, and this one is turning this way. And when they come together, right in the middle, okay, It's not this one. It's that one. That is the geometry of two hearts that come together. This is what it looks like in lines only. So you have a tetrahedron here that turned into a chestahedron, and a tetrahedron here that turned into a chestahedron, and now there's a dual. Let's call it a unity. Look, there are two bells. Now, this is what's new. This has never been done before. No one's ever spun these two in opposite directions. This is what the heart does. This is how our heart works. Okay. So, to look at this, the difference is that when we did this before, that the elements here, you can see the difference. Look what happens to the, see the light, or the fruit of life. Stick. Let's see if I take it on. Oh, this one. I think I got it, right? This is the old way. What's happening here now is we have a shift. It's 15 degrees, which is a total of 30 here. And 15 degrees is very important because that's what I've said years ago that the heart needed to do to have the fifth chamber come in. Exactly. And this distance, this little twist right here, is exactly how much this twist in the cube. Exactly. So this is the unity. This is the unity, the shift in the unity. So that means there's one here like that, there's one here like that, and one over here. So the straight kind of stuff, okay, it's going at it. Okay, so I'm going to take these off. This particular flower of life is a descending meditational form. This is a descending one. This is about coming into earth. This is all about the center, centering. This is all about the periphery. A total opposite of these two here. So now, we can now look at the flower of life as an ascension. Not descending, but ascending. This looks really great with the holiday today, which is Palm Sunday. Also, this was organized for Bill Steiner's birthday, and the spiritual world was tomorrow, but we couldn't have a meeting on Monday. So, since Palm Sunday is here, I'm going to interpret this in a Christian way. That's okay. It can be interpreted into the Jewish religion or whatever. Okay. So, if I draw a circle around this, around these six, and leave this one in the middle, this is exactly the size of the top view of the human heart. Exactly. This is my geometry. And that circle right there is the microvalve. I mean, it is. It's the geometry, absolutely perfect geometry. It's the microvalve. This is where the red blood enters. Okay? Not the blue blood, but the red blood. And the red blood, according to the people, including Will Steiner, is the ego. It's our I am. It's our ego. And it enters in through the microvalve. And it's red. So to me, this is what I call the Christ impulse. Because it's all about impulse, so that when we decide that we're going to come here and make that decision, all of us have an impulse that we brought with us, that we need to fulfill and to bring about. So, what happens is the heart takes up the impulse and enthusiasm. And whatever you find that you find in your life that's really meaningful, the enthusiasm will come right after and look for that impulse. And when it does, it goes to work. And that's what this is. This is the part, the fruit of your impulse that has enthusiasm. You have the fruit now, but it's more, it's not a fruit anymore. It's more about love. It's the love from the heart. And so that only will make these six, oh not six, but the three. 1, 2, and 3. But what about these guys up here that are not in this? So I'll put these back again because sometimes this is hardest to understand. This is what's really great. What is this circle? Because all of these right here would be here, 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 here. What is this side? And this side over here is the other. Now when you meet somebody, this is the front of that face. But if the person comes from this side, it makes up this side with the same design than the other person. So they have the front of the person meets the person in the back. Instead of this one's twisted this way, and the person coming towards you is twisted this way. It's a mirror image. So this is a reversal. And this is what happens, that when you meet somebody and you hug them, always put your head to the right, because then the person will put their head on their right, and then you have the crossing of the hearts. And that's what this is all about. So this is unity, and the new, not the flower of life, but I call it the unity of love. This is the unity of love. Thank you. Nicholas pointing at this.
Oh, yeah.
So what I did in here is, as you know, I developed a way to bring the vapor, the etheric force, into water. So I developed a new imploder based on the unity. Here it is. And it's made of 3 metals. This will be used in the processing of water. And this is the CVO4, because I have, this is the 4th stage of the CVO. What's amazing about this is it's completely hollow. There's nothing inside it. Nothing. It's air. And yet, what it does is amazing. So, can't keep a cancer patient down, right? Only other thing I want to show you is that they don't talk about in Mercado is that you have to understand, this is really great. This can't go any further, but this can. Because if I continue to do this, it turns into this one. And then I'm just about finished. It turns into this. This is what they call a prolate or a rhombohedric. These are tesseracts. They're all equal. And that's the next stage. That's the next stage after this. If this continues to turn, it goes into this and it can't go any further. So this will make unity. And this will make unity, where you have 2 of them together. So this is exactly the very center. And that's called prolate, and there's some, you know, it's been around for a long time. People make them, you know, for sale. That's the very middle. okay, of the heart, the chestahedron. This part right here is the left ventricle inner architecture. Right there, on my sights for heart. Just think of this. This is two hearts put together that are beating. Is there anything else back here that I need to show you? Okay, one more last thing. Where is this thing in here? No, it's right here. There it is. Thank you, everybody. I really appreciate it. I'd like you to see this. This is an animation of the heart.
So we'll actually be playing this later. It's on the DVD. We won't be playing it right now, but this is the top view of the heart.
So are we able to show it in motion, or it's just static?
No, not right now, but we'll show it later.
All right, so see this part here? See it? There it is, look. That is the inside of the architecture of the human heart, right there. That's this right here. That fits in the chestahedron. And this is the size of the mitral valve, and that is the design of the valve. And this is the chestahedron on the outside. We have been working with an animator for almost 10 months, and I haven't been able to do it. I get on the phone with Stephen. Stephen calls the guy up. The guy hangs up on me. Because there's so many processes that we had to go through to make this animation, that if I gave them all to him, he would have just hung up completely. But I gave him one time, a little bit. Oh, no, do that. Oh, no, you're changing. No, I'm adding something new. And I'll go back and forth on this guy. But the results are great. It's not done, but Stephen will talk about that. So, thank you very much.
Okay. So, while you guys are all inside here is the, thanks a lot for that, Frank. That was amazing. I love it. We're all here in the New Form Technology Research Center. And so when Frank started this in, it was March 2013, he had ideas to form a nonprofit. And so we actually partnered with Raphael Medical Foundation, and he was open to receiving grants, charitable grants, through the Raphael Medical Foundation. And then when I came here, I was like, well, we have a lot of product potential. Since the donations are coming in, let's make products and start bringing them to people to have the exchange. And so what we did was, the first thing we geared up for was the San Francisco International Gift Show. This was, I believe it was last August. And so we all had to come together as a team to actually create a booth. To present Frank's artwork and the products that we had developed. And so that was really exciting, and that led to another show, and then an eco-farm show. And so, and there's going to be a lot of people that come up and share about those things. But what I want to give you an update is that just recently we received our 501c3 tax-exempt status for the Frank Chester Foundation. And so the mission of the Frank Chester Foundation will be slightly different than the research center. It's the advancement of the education and the cultural applications of the art and the geometry developed by Frank through the erecting of an art and science and technology museum called the Heart Building. And so this is we actually got it on St. Patrick's Day. So we have a tax-exempt nonprofit, and we will be seeking donations for the erecting of this Heart Building. And so what is the Heart Building? Here's actually the document from the IRS. We are official. So this is a first revision of the logo, the Frank Chester Foundation logo. If I had time, I would have had cards, and you each would have had a donation card, but those will be coming in the mail. So what was the Hart Building? Frank was invited to the 100th anniversary of the Goethe-Nacht. And when he was invited to that to give a lecture, he was inspired. And so that inspiration led to him designing and building and architecting a building based on the geometry of the chestahedron. And so, you know, Frank, he leaves it all white. And the reason why he left it all white is because he wanted someone to come and give it color. And so he built this model by hand. I'm just amazed at what he can build with his hands, as you can see here on these displays. And so I hope to learn how to do that with my hands. But one of the ideas is, okay, well, how does a building get built? So we've got our nonprofit now to raise money to build the building. So what's the next thing we need? We need to put some color on this, and so we need to come up with a new project. And I call this Demand a Miracle, the Hart Building Project. And so what I did is I worked to get the next step in any design. It's to, well, let's see it in real life. What would it look like? What could it look like? And so the next slide here. Oh, sorry. I've got to toggle out for a second. One moment. Okay. One second as I load this baby up. Oh, there it is. Okay. So, let's see. Full screen. Okay.
Wow.
So this, yeah, it's not. So this is a 3D rendering of the Hart Building. And as you can see, what's in the background? So Frank's first choice is to have this in the Bay Area. Why do you think the Bay Area? Well, the Bay Area is the technology center of the world, and so there's a lot of material creation going on here. So it's the best place in order to find the balance and to bring what is the spiritual technology to balance out that material technology. So this is one version of that building. Here is another vantage point. This one, as you can see, is it's more of an island location. I don't know if some of you know, Frank lived on Lanai for a number of years. And so if Larry Ellison, if you're out there, we'd love to build this building on your island. So this is another version, and then
that island's for sale.
He already bought it. Yeah, Larry bought it several years ago.
In Washington.
That's right. So then here is a view. So these are full 3D rendered images. I'm sorry the glare from the light outside is kind of taking away from it. And then here's the last one. What's amazing about this building, one of the architectural marvels about it, is that it has this stained glass here. It's actually of the color of a tourmaline crystal. And most stained glass actually reflects inside the building. This stained glass actually will reflect on the building and also onto the surface of the ground here. If you notice, this is a Goethe's color wheel that he's got here on the ring, stainless glass. And when the light hits it, it shines the color wheel here. You can notice all the architecture, all the geometry on the ground there. So this is the Hart Building project. These are the 3D rendered images of the Hart Building. And this is actually the goal of the research center. So Frank Tister Foundation will be the nonprofit to raise money for this Hart Building, and the research center is kind of the for-profit, but all of our products, everything is going towards this mission, which is to develop this Hart Building. This Hart Building will be an art gallery. It'll have a performance, it'll have an auditorium for performing arts. It'll probably now have a healing wing, and as well as research and education. Oh, sorry, now I've got to go back to the presentation for a second. So that's the Demand a Miracle project. Okay, didn't do exactly what I wanted. One sec. I guess this is the recount. Not live. Okay, we're getting close. So another thing that we developed, there's the foundation, there's the heart building. Okay, heartbeat animation. Let me see over here. We'll have to show this a little bit later because my computer's having some problems. But we actually developed, as Frank mentioned, we've been working with this guy, a super great 3D animator in the Netherlands for the last 10 months. And we're pretty much done with the heartbeat animation. And we actually included that on the DVD that we've designed to raise money for the center and for the heart building. So never before seen heartbeat animation of the geometry of the chest-tehedron, how it moves. Both the inner and the outer geometry of the heart is available on this DVD. And we will be probably publishing it also to our YouTube channel here shortly. But I can't really show it right now because of technical difficulties. So we'll keep moving on. So another thing, Frank his art has been on display. He's been an artist for probably his whole life, and so he's had many, many art exhibits and art shows. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to take a part of the research center and actually carve it out and make it into a gallery, because this work of Frank and his art, it really is deserving of a gallery. So we've built our own MoMo here. We've got our Museum of Modern Art, and it's really modern art because it's future art. And so that's what we have here at the center, and it'll be open to the public. You can make an appointment to come see, and I encourage you all to kind of walk through it after our presentation. The next thing will be, so we've got New Form Research Center, we've got Frank Chester Foundation, we're going to have New Form Academy. So this is where you're not actually applying it, you're going to be learning it. And so we're going to have teachers and geometricians like Matt Taylor come in and give educational talks. Matt's done a lot of work with the chest-tehedron and the decatria. And so there'll be an actual school arm to what we do here at the Research Center. Okay, so now I want to talk a little bit about the different product lines that we have at the Research Center. The first one is jewelry lines. We have this jewelry line. You saw the Unity that Frank showed earlier. We also have using the chest-tehedron as well as the Venus form. And so this project, the impulse of this project came from Cameron Nazari. I don't know if he was able to make it here today, but he actually kick-started this off, and he did the initial chest-tehedron 3D CAD designs. He got those complete. He started selling it, and then he had to move on to another thing. But I'm sure he'll be back. So we actually, all the chest-tehedron forms are 3D printed through the Shapeways, and we did a campaign. Cameron kick-started an Indiegogo campaign to raise money for this product. And so then we actually added the Venus pendant and the Venus rings, and you'll see them here as we showcase those. And another one of the accomplishments, we actually established the jewelry displays in 2 Rudolf Steiner College bookstores. And they're a huge success. People are really taking to the Venus form and the chest-tehedron. And so our next steps with this is to establish a Shapeway storefront as well as an Etsy storefront, and then just to continue to spread the word on the jewelry line. The Rhythmic Implosion Enlivener, this was a project, the impulse came from Kevin Coe, and Kevin, he's up in Chico, he's probably still driving down here, it's a long way to go. So he developed the initial enlivener prototypes, and did the initial testing, got all excited about it, and then we all worked together as a team. And during that time, we actually got a non-provisional patent on the CVO that Frank invented, and that was last summer. And so we have a U.S. patent there, and we're in the process of getting the international patent on that. Then Sebastian and Lilith came in. Sebastian, do you want to come on up and share a little bit on the Rhythmic Implosion Enlivener now?
I could say a few little things.
Yeah, that'd be great.
So I was very glad to be able to see, okay, we have this beautiful form, and I've been mixing water with it and watering plants. And so how can we help also have these forms? How could this have practical application? I want to get more data on how could we actually influence the living world, the plants that we eat. And so I started a lot of beds with different plants, cauliflower, broccoli, carrots, beets, and I would then have side-by-sides and water mix with the CVO form for 10 minutes or so, and have the same water used but not mixed, and water the crop. And I watched them over a period of approximately 9 months. And right away the results were pretty clear that the roots, the little rootlets that actually go get the fine nutrients that makes the plant more tasty and were way more developed. So I was very curious and went further, and then saw that in the basil, the essential oils, the smell were very different. And the color of the green of the leaf even was deeper. And that helps a lot with the chlorophyll absorption, the sun. If it's deeper green, the plant are able to bring up more energy, out of which they actually send sugars through the root, and then the life of the soil is actually immense. So we're starting to see how suddenly bringing more through the form, we're able to bring some really healing energy to the plant that really help the flavor, the colors, and then even the amount of fruits. I counted all the flowers on my tomatillos, and the average, I had at least twice as much flowers. And with some, it was all the way to 4 times more flowers, wow. Which led to, at least 3 times more fruit at the end. So on all level, it helped the plant actually have a stronger foundation with the earth, and out of that to actually produce a more tasty and vegetable or fruit that actually is amazing to taste. And I got some beautiful cauliflower, huge. The bugs, I didn't have any problem. So I decided to go further and say, okay, could we get even more scientific? And we discovered a lab in the Netherlands that studied the sap. So the sap available to the cells of the plant, and what is the content, all the mineral contents that there is there, and is there a difference to that level? And we find out that on a lot of things, the things have been improved, but the most interesting thing was that when I got the result, I went to meet the person, and when he spoke, he said, it's amazing because out of the soil come the same thing. But the plant that had the CVO water were able to better use what they had and to send it where it's needed at the key point of the plant. So out of the same foundation, we were able to get a better, the plant was able to be more intelligent, strengthen the capacity of the plant to perceive its environment and use it better, to be in a more conversation. So instead of being just a thing in the ground, the plant itself is able to actually relate to its environment better. And I think we're entering where the mysteries that even plants, when there is more life, more love into it, the way it relates then to the human being and to its environment is different. And we're starting to transform the capacity of substances even to live to a higher level and further life when you eat it. And so we will continue this year. We did sap analysis on cauliflower, broccoli.
Water analysis, remember the pH and the softening of the water.
Yeah. So we also did test just with the water spin with nothing else, and the pH changed pretty strongly, got softer, and so we're getting further and further and seeing how is the CVO affecting the water, and then what about the plant, but also the human being drinking it, and how are the animals drinking it. And at blind test, everyone could tell the difference of the taste, just the subtlety, the softness of the water. And so this year we will do more research in the garden to really try to own the difference, but we have very encouraging data this year that made it clear that there's really something into it, and we're some company that do organic fertilizers are very interested into it and would love to see if they could help their product be more alive and help agriculture go forward. And so we're looking. Thank you, Frank, for opening new ways, even in agriculture. Everywhere, I hope these forums will help us discover the deeper secrets of life and find our way with our heart to rediscover nature and the world we're born in. And I feel he's opening the door for us, and may we keep it up. In that sense, I lend a call. If anyone is interested in helping the research, we're definitely looking for partners and people who in some ways could help us go further. I have a limited garden, I do what I can. I trust that the world will bring us the right people when it's the right time. I'll let you know it's invited, and we love your support.
Thanks a lot, Sebastian. Sebastian's been a key member of the team. One thing that I actually left off, Robert, you probably want to take a shot of it, is the geometric still point pyramid. That was a product that we started back when the Research Center first opened up. And Dean Pollard took up the project impulse on that. And this geometric still point pyramid has probably gone through, what, 100 revisions? At least 100 revisions. And we bring this to a lot of the trade shows and the conferences. And you would be amazed. I mean, this is like a magic chair for people. And when they sit in it, does someone want to come sit in it right now? I'm just going to, yeah, come on in. What was your name?
My name is Devin.
Devin, Stephen. Nice to meet you. So why don't you go ahead and sit in it. So we've had lots of help. Actually, Dale Schusterman, he's a well-known energy healer on the East Coast in the North Carolina area. He helped us with a lot of the testing of it, the energy of it, and yeah, this is available for sale. We sold a number of these. They come in black stardust, hammered gold, and actually sky blue. Now, when you're sitting in the chair, do you notice that you have kind of free motion?
Yeah, I just wasn't sure if that was like just this dynamics of the swing, but definitely very intriguing.
Yeah, it's surprisingly comfortable. It holds you surprisingly. Now, as Frank's work is all about balance. And so what this chair allows you to do, it's balancing you both above and below, forward and back, and left and right. It's gyroscopic balance. And so you're finding your balance, which will be different for everybody. Some people, if you're really kind of wound up, this will find your balance, it'll slow you down a little bit. Some people, if you're kind of slow, this will kind of pep you up a little bit. We've had people sit in this, and it's just amazing, the healings that have occurred in this heart geometry. This is all about the heart. This is the heart geometry, and this is the geometric still point pyramid. And so we make these by hand here. It's been designed and developed. It's in production. And I just wanted to make, you can go ahead and hang out there. Well, I'll finish this presentation. Another project that we have, last year, around this time, Frank actually revealed a revolutionary propeller technology. Again, with Frank's work, a lot of it is actually reversing what's out there. It's almost like, oh yeah, these are the running patents that we have at the Research Center. We've got a patent on the Decatria, we've got the patent on the CVO, and we have the patent pending on what's called the check prop propeller and spinner. So this is a spinner that will pull you forward, at the same time suck you forward. And so it's using the chestahedron geometry, which is the geometry of a vortex. That's what the chestahedron is. It's a vortex, which is your heart. And so Frank disclosed it last year, and we filed for the patent. And so we're going to start working on the 3D CAD design. I want to do flow simulations of this in engineering CAD tools, as well as build a wind tunnel. So we will build a wind tunnel this spring here at the Research Center. Okay, Decatria Construction Net. This is where Matt Taylor comes in, and this will be part of the new Form Academy educational services. So Matt has been working with the Decatria for a long time. He did the installation of the Decatria. He also developed the construction instructions for the chestahedron, which is part of our development kit that you can buy at the Research Center. And do you want to come up now and share a little bit about this? Would be the time? Yeah. Yeah. So he's been working hard.
Easels?
You want to use one of these easels?
Yeah, I've got a few things that I should pull out. Thank you very much.
Are they attached to these?
We're trying to
Bless you, Toby.
Yeah, I'll hold it.
They're attached.
Yeah, I'll hold it for you. Yeah, no problem.
Okay, thanks. So, firstly, there's a picture of an anthroposophical college in England that is brand new, called the Field Center. And at the center of this college is the Decatria. And the Decatria is the geometric dual of the chestahedron. In 2007, or previously to that point, Frank was at the Goetheanum offering his chestahedron, which was the initial form that he had created, and he spoke to George Gleckler, who is the mathematician at the Goetheanum in Dornach, Switzerland. And as Frank was explaining this form, George said that there should be a 14-sided form that goes around the human heart as we sleep, which Frank then recognized as the dual of the chestahedron, which no one had discovered at this point. It existed elsewhere than our physical temporal world. So then Frank worked with that form and followed a lawful process of taking the center of the chestahedron, which is slightly above the chair, and axes that come out from that center through every vertex corner of the chestahedron. And then if it comes out straight, if you can cut 90 degrees from that axis, you will create the Decatria. Did I bring that inside? Yeah, under the chair. Right. So here is a Decatria. Frank discovered that it is not actually 14 sides, but 13. And the 13-sided form actually was spoken by Rudolf Steiner, I believe, who said, when we sleep, there will be a 13-sided form that goes etherically around our heart to heal it at night. When Frank told the story at a lecture, and I had been attending his lectures for close to probably 10 years now, I got very excited because I knew there had to be a relationship between the chestahedron and the Decatria where one would fit in the other. Because as a Waldorf teacher, I teach geometry, and then I knew I had to figure out how those two existed, which meant I had to figure out how to make the chestahedron, which was before Frank was allowing anybody to know how to do that, and so I figured that out, and then I figured out the Decatria, and then I put the two together. And that was very exciting, and when I did find out, I went to his house and showed him, and he didn't say a word. He got up and went to his closet and came out with his and just set it down and smiled. That's when I knew that I had found what he had found previously. And so I was down here at the end of last year. It was actually on New Year's Eve Day. And I was talking to Stephen and Sebastian, and we were talking about the Decatria. And I said, oh yeah, I have the net for that. And you know, Frank wanted me to give him the Decatria so it could be put in the chestahedron in the package. And so when I got to look at it, I realized, oh, this is not ready for publication. This was just my notes and photographs, and it's really not pretty. It's not ready. And so then I decided to redo it. So I took that out. And then I offered those plates and the descriptions to my lovely and talented niece, Carrie Glazer, who is a graphic designer. And she laid the whole thing out. And that's what I want to share with you today. And its intention is ultimately to bring the construction of this form to the world. Construction is a term we use in formal constructive geometry. We use a compass, a straight edge, and a pencil. There is no measure, which is what makes it sacred. It becomes profane when you work with when you have to measure it or calculate it. And so what we have at this point in draft form, because we just need to get a few bits of technical information on here. We are going to put the patent number, credit to Frank for having discovered the form, credit to Carrie for having designed the layout, and then credit for me for having created this structure. And so what I would like to ultimately do is offer the education on how to make this form. But this is an extremely advanced form. And sacred geometry is very rarely known now in the world in educational circles. So we have to begin at a very early stage and teach people the fundamental principles of how to work with a compass, straight edge, and pencil very accurately so that they can ultimately make this form. The antecedent to this form will be to make a chestahedron. But before we need to make that, we have to learn to make a few two-dimensional forms, which will just be glorious and beautiful. And I hope to have a whole series that we can have people enroll, and we know that we'll have enough funds to do it, and then we'll be able to get the commitment so that it's worthwhile. This form is 12 pages, and it starts out with a very simple one. So if you would just hold those up, I'll hold up the plates that Carrie scanned.
I'm doing a sneak peek.
Yeah.
One little sneak peek.
It's this one. So it starts out very simply. And this is the vesica Pisces, and an equilateral triangle, and another equilateral triangle. Really easy to do. I could have anybody do this in 3 minutes. That's simple. Next page. And there's this instructions, not hard. And then we'll make a little vesica Pisces over here on the side. And when I give the presentation, I'll reveal to you how incredibly valuable this discovery was. It led me to 4 or 5 resolutions to complicated distances in this form that I had been puzzling over for years. It was a moment of grace that just kept giving back to me. It was an extraordinary experience. But again, nice, simple thing. This is just a little helper to get a little distance from this point to this point. That's all it was. So then we make the next slide, if you will. Yeah, and you can see these beautiful layouts that Carrie did. You know, so it's easy to see. Then we make a quadrilateral. We go from there. We have the beginnings of the next part up here, which will be a prana shape. Everything is, most of the forms are 5-sided, but they're not regular pentagons. Then we ultimately get this. So we're almost done. We really have 3 of the 13 shapes, but there are 2 more rays that come out. So really, we will have 7 of the 13 forms on the 13 side object. I'm only showing you one at a time because otherwise it's too busy. So then we get a little helper line here. We make the Superman emblem next. So we have that over here. And so finally we start to make a little house form beginning up here. And we almost have all of the unique shapes. And now we have all of the unique shapes, but only 1 ray out of the 3. Until finally now, if you look at this, this is still relatively simple. It still looks clear, you can follow it, you can see it on Carrie's layout. Then when you do the whole thing together, then your mind starts to get lost. And the reason I laid it out that way, so people could follow it. They could follow the instructions. They could get to work on it. It will ultimately be available on Frank's webpage. And yet, if I were to teach this, I believe I could teach people in 1 day. It's going to take about 6 hours, including a lunch. And it is entirely possible that you will leave without having successfully created. Because there are nuanced points where you could easily not realize where you were supposed to put the compass point, even though the instructions are extremely specific. You could do it by yourself with the computer and the printout, but it will take you weeks and weeks and weeks, and that would be perfectly lovely. Really, you should do that. I had to do that. Nobody showed me how to do it. It took me, I don't know how long, months to do it, and it was so great. But now when I do this, and I started completely from scratch again, now what has developed for me is much quicker facility and just a receptivity to work with the spirits of form, which are called the Elohim, which are incredibly high in the spiritual hierarchy, because they want to allow us to create this, but we have to be open to be able to do that. And so,
That's awesome, Matt.
This is our form.
Thank you so much, Matt.
Thank you, because that the geometry does affect you. It affects your dream life, affects your consciousness. And I was told by the same guy that that Decatria should be on the nightstand of everyone who's had a heart seizure or a heart attack.
Okay, moving right along. So, surprise announcements. Let me go get the first surprise. Let me set the stage for the first surprise. Okay. Not everyone has heard of this, but maybe they have. This is what's known as the Oloy. This is the Oloy. Von Paul Schatz. He discovered this by, let me get this right, turning a cube inside out. Turning a cube inside out, and we can actually show you how that's done here at the center. And so, one second, I'll be right back. So, when all forms can be turned inside out. All forms can be, you can apply all geometric techniques to all forms. And that's where the infinite number of forms comes from. And so what Frank did is he applied that technique to the chestahedron. And out popped the beautiful Venus. Completely objective. Nothing subjective about it, but it was art. So Frank had asked for this a long time ago. He's like, I want a picture like that of the Venus. I want a picture of that. So this is a rough draft cut of the Venus.
Ooh.
So this is a poster that we've designed and we're going to sell to raise money for the heart building. Everything is about the heart. So
Thanks a lot, Stephen.
this is the Venus. So I think it's actually too big to, well, let's see if it stays on the camera. No, it's too big.
Use the other one. Put it in front of the other one. Just lay it on top.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good idea. Another shift. Another shift. It's a shift.
Something on top of the hat.
Okay, I'm sure everyone is probably getting tired of this. So that's the Venus poster. So I'm sure everyone by now is, God, you know, oh man, so when Sebastian was talking and he was saying when we implode this water that the plants love it. And when we go to these shows, people come up and they see us imploding the water with the heart geometry, with the technology of the heart, the organizing the vortex and causing the implosion. And they're like, hey, can I have some of that? I want to try that. Can I have some of that? And we're like, oh, it's for the plants. It's not for people. And I remember we were at this show and we went down to LA, the Conscious Life Expo in LA. And Frank told me he was sick and he was tired, but he was battling, you know. And he's like, Steve, you know, if you go down there, you know, someone comes to you with a contract and you need me to come sign something, I'll fly down there. It was the cutest thing. He's like, if you find our deal, then I'll come down and I'll sign it. And I'm like, okay. And then it was funny, you know, these shows you go, you set up, you tear down, and we spent hours tearing down our gallery because we were basically bringing in our gallery to every show. And I was tired, sweaty, I was parched. I'm parched right now. Probably everyone in this room is parched right now. I was thirsty. I just grabbed whatever, a case of water, and I brought it up to the room, and I met Cynthia and Lilith in the room, and Lilith made some joke, and she's like, wow, we wondered what was taking you so long. You know, were you making the $1 million, you know, deal that Frank was talking about? I was like, no, I wasn't. And I just was sitting there, and I'm drinking this water, and it hit me. What am I thinking? What's going on here? So, the special announcement is, oh, not that one. Frank, come over here. Come here, Frank. You gotta get up.
Why don't we get the thing?
Come here, Frank. Come here. I'm thirsty, Frank. You want to open some water?
There you go.
Energized spring water. What we do is we apply the CVO technology to regular spring water, and now it's energized with Frank's technology.
Have some, all right, have some.
That's
Let's
over.
see you glow.
So just so you know, everyone here today gets a free bottle. We have water for everyone. Okay? Water for everyone. And also, I kind of skipped over one thing. You all get to go home with a chestahedron die cut. So everyone can take a form and make a chestahedron at home. You just need to pick your tourmaline crystal design. So, that's it. Final over. I asked Lilith to come up a bunch of times. She said, no, no, no. Now she wants to come
It's the
up.
moment.
It's time.
Before you do that, can I tell you a little bit about the water?
Yeah, good idea.
You go.
This
No, skip
water I use in a chemical process based on my work. Nothing has been added to this water except the vapor that comes in it through the implosion. And I've set up a process of alchemy in my house where I have developed how to make this water, okay, without any magnets, without any electricity, without adding anything to it, okay. And I have these processes that I have. I wish I could show you, but I can't because it's a secret. Well, how about this water? Now, if you want to know what this water really does, pour on a plant. But this is a pure impulse based on a geometry of the human heart. And I figured that if we're going to do this for the plants, we should do it for us too. Nothing's been added to this pure water that comes from the mountains, except a 5-gallon container of this mixture that I have. This deals with sound and light. It also deals with implosion. It also deals with reversals and 14 processes. And that water is just pure crystal that's added to the mountain spring water. And the reason I did that is because all water that you buy is dead. And the reason it is because it's been filtered. This has been enlivened with the life force. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
This will be the closing.
I've been away for the last month and sharing my love, one of my deep inspirations of Frank's work with people everywhere that I've been on my journey. And the last night that I spent on the East Coast where I was, before coming back for this event, I woke up in the very early morning, way sooner than I needed to catch my flight. Couldn't go back to sleep. Why not? What is there to do? Okay, read this book. So this is what came. It's from a lecture by Rudolf Steiner on Christmas Day of 1920. And this is a moment of that lecture. Modern humanity is passing over a threshold at which a guardian, an important guardian, stands. The guardian says with great seriousness, above all, this: do not cling to what has come as a transplant from ancient times. Look into your hearts, your souls, so that you may be capable of creating new forms. You can create these new forms only when you have faith that the powers of knowledge and of will for this spiritual creation can come out of the spiritual world. Thank you, Frank.
Anybody thirsty?
Yeah.
Anybody thirsty? Okay, let's go get some water. Whoever